Hello, fellow and aspiring activists. Welcome.
I am Bugyo Gunrinola.
I'm Monique Kitnikon.
And I'm Fantasy Bias.
And today we are going to be talking about adultism and power dynamics and how it specifically affects youth. So, just a question for y'all. How do you feel about this issue and how do you think it affects you?
So first of all, adultism is a type of oppression where adults use their age privilege to dominate young people's perspectives and their voices. They might not even be conscious of it, but because it is normalized within our culture, it is very apparent.
Especially as youth and youth of color, many times many opinions that are put out by me and my peers are often diminished or often demonized by adults due to the fact that we have yet to experience life for its totality or what it is. When that happens, I feel like it becomes like there's a barrier between us and those adults because many times our experiences are often questions, and I think that we should stop questioning and start understanding the experiences of youth.
Absolutely. And to go off of that, I think that many adults don't find our perspectives to be valuable, and I find that they dismiss them, and I think that can be really destructive for us personally. I know that we are young and that it may seem as if we don't have as much knowledge as adults. However, I would like to challenge this as I feel that as youth, we oftentimes are very mindful people, and I think that we are also very capable of being leaders. I also find that young people's perspectives can serve a lot, and they can reach out to a bigger and different demographic than adults can. And I think that if adults try to understand that we are still people and that even though we are young, we can still face the same experiences that they do.
Unfortunately, I have had some run-ins with adults, especially teachers and administration and higher power, and it's not the best. A social norm is to respect your elders, and yes, I always try to, and I will, yet I totally see adultism. One time I got into a minor altercation with a teacher. She sort of tried to boss me around and shut down my opinion and my voice, and so me being me, I couldn't really let that happen. So I expressed myself in a way that she did not see within the school, because she usually doesn't see youth expressing their voices and their opinions. And I was considered sassy or too much as just being younger than the adult, than the teacher. So later, I got called into the office, and immediately before I was able to express my opinion, I got two days of lunch detention, and it didn't feel right coming from them as their higher power. I didn't feel as respected with them. I didn't feel like the communication or the compromise was being done in a way that it could be to where I could respect the higher power, but I definitely saw adultism within that, and it just made me feel more upset than it should have.
So expanding on that, how do you think adults can change their attitudes or their actions in order to incorporate more youth or become engaged?
So I definitely think taking a step back and realizing that youth are people that need to be heard, listening and communicating maybe in a compromisable way for both the youth and the adult. That way there's no room for negative comments or negative outcomes.
I think for myself, I definitely find that when adults truly listen to my opinions and really take that into account, I feel more willing to compromise and I feel a lot more comfortable with them. I think that adults oftentimes don't truly listen to our views, as sometimes they tell us how we should feel or why we are personally in the wrong. But I don't think that's a productive way of going about it. I think that there are different ways of communication, and I think that if we have healthy conversations that really showcase youth perspectives, I think we can really see a change within the inclusivity of youth. I think that language that instills dominance can be a real issue. I find that adults who give young people ultimatums with the result of a punishment can cause us to feel uncomfortable or unsafe. And I feel that instead we should be creating situations where young people feel at ease with expressing their opinions or views without being criticized by the adults in their lives.
Adults must understand that in order to actually create that communication and that system of communication, they shouldn't instill a sort of fear into youth, especially because youth are already scared of their authority figure. So I think it's important that they must realize that we need to sort of break down that hierarchy a bit, only to establish a respectable level and boundary between both the peer, but both the youth and the adult as well.
And because adults have the age privilege and use words and phrases and language such as "you're just a kid" or "you wouldn't understand because you don't know the experiences yet," it just puts a big barrier between the experiences that we already have and the experiences that they have, instead of making them equalized and kind of collab together.
Absolutely. And then to touch on that, I think that's something we should also address is something else that we should address are ideas for methods on how to keep youth people involved, specifically how we can build relationships. And for myself personally, I know that at the coalition, through the people that I've met here, I've been able to create really wonderful relationships with some really great women of color. And through that, I found that I can really feel more comfortable within myself and within my views because they provide that representation for me that I don't see in other places.
Mm-hmm. And safe spaces such as at the coalition, also we have a policy that we say up front during community conversations where anything is said in the space can't be discussed with people outside of the space. And this will ensure that we can be our whole selves and without possibly being exposed, just that confidentiality and that safe space we have for us.
I think the coalition does an exceptionally great job on establishing the difference between us being youth and us being like matured like adults that we should have all these responsibilities. The Idaho Coalition is the only state coalition that also pays youth in Idaho. So the fact that they're valuing us enough to establish that like they're paying us for our expertise, our time, reminding us that we are valued, but just another mechanism. But also in the fact that like after we come here after school, they feed us, reminding us that like we need to be nurtured, we need to be taken care of. They realize the humanity beside or underneath their youth, and I think that's beautiful because then when that happens, we feel valued, our opinions feel valued, our experiences feel valued from like different ways and different mechanisms that the coalition has like reached to us. I also think that when that happens, the fact that they're integrating youth opinions but not tokenizing them, but instead of like us being that like voice of the youth, we're bringing our opinions to a space where we take that and then from there we create these solutions that benefit and I guess exceptionally they benefit and exceptionally do a great job in establishing that we're solving for youth in our communities, youth that are accounted for, and youth in marginalized communities as well.
Absolutely. And I think another thing we should talk about is why it's important to us. I think that young people are the future, and I think that it's important that we instill an intergenerational collaborative between different age groups. I mean, we see it with us in the Idaho Coalition. I think that we work really well together, and so far as what I can tell, we all enjoy our work very much, and it's very important to us that we stay connected with them. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Wrapping it up now, you're one step closer to being the aspiring activist that you want to be. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, a quote from Grace Lee Boggs. A rebellion is something that is developing as an explosion coming out of the righteous grievances of a community of people. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.